what I do for my 5-year-old self. Let me break that down. So I was having a conversation via text with a dear friend of mine, and we were talking about service. We're talking about what is life about, and there are many facets to life. For me personally, I have my highest values, my expansion of self, my adventure, my commitment and devotion to sacred union, to my own being, to my daughter that's coming into the world, to my service, to the way I show up for people and the way I show up in life, and the vocation that I'm engaged in, the work that I do in the world. And then I started thinking a little deeper about that, like where that comes from. And I've said this out loud many times, our voids become our values. And I heard Dr. John DeMartini say that once. And really the essence of that is that what we didn't receive as children often can become something that drives us as adults. So for example, for me, I experienced and had the sense of isolation. I had the sense of disconnection from other people, pain and shame and guilt and fear and uncertainty and insecurity. Just like that 5-year-old boy felt, just like my 7-year-old boy felt, just like I felt when I was 12, 13, moving from primary school into high school and not really knowing myself, moving, into puberty, not feeling like I had a support structure, not feeling safe at home, being surrounded by violence and volatility. And as an adult, I thrive in connection. I help people connect to themselves, enhance their relationship to themselves, to the parts of themselves that are wounded, that are traumatized, that are hurt, that they don't have a relationship with, the part of themselves that they dislike. And not just the part of themselves, but also their intimate romantic partnerships, their deep friendships, their parental dynamics, their childhood, their future, like all of that. Like that's the work that I'm in, and we're in service, right? So we, meaning my friend and I, he's in a similar space and industry, and he is deep into men's work, as men's work is a big part of where I've come from, because I didn't have a primary healthy masculine figure to guide me, and I didn't have that in my life in a healthy way. And so what I do in the world now, there's a big part of me that unconsciously and consciously does that for that 5-year-old boy, for me, but also what that 5-year-old represented. And it's not just the 5-year-old boy. It's, as I said, the 7-year-old boy, the 13-year-old boy, the 17-year-old boy, the 25-year-old boy dressed up as a man. Like it was for all those parts of me that hurt me, disrespected me, but also hurt others, that womanized, that used addictions as a way to forget his pain. Sex addiction, love compulsion, food, adrenaline, excessive achievement, wearing external validation as a badge of honor, needing to be seen by women, needing to forget my pain through peak experiences. I do what I do today for those versions of myself that also reside in other men and women, that reside in other people as well. I have been very fortunate and very blessed to come through my pain and through my shame and my core wounds where, let me actually share a story with you. This is going to tie a bow in this particular part. About 7 years ago, I was at a really low point in my life. And in fact, I had begun, that time of my life was the catalyst for going extra deep into myself and making a decision that no matter what happens, I am not going back to how I was. I will not be the same archetype of man or person or boy man that I was. I just was not going to do that anymore. And I said, I'm either going to commit suicide because this is going to be too intense, and I faced that precipice multiple times. I'm either going to end up in a mental asylum because that's what I was unearthing within myself was so fucking intense. It was repressed trauma and violation that I hadn't really dealt with at all. Or I'm going to get through this and I'm going to change the trajectory of my life, number one. And number two, I may be able to support other people through their transitions and their journey. And I made it through that catalyst. I made it through that time. It was a rough 2-3 years. Had about a year, 2 years off, and then boom, straight back in again. There was another catalyst. And that was my life's path. That was my part of my dharma for whatever reason. I had to go through, as we say in Australia, the ringer. I had to really, really go deep. And it was intense. And that was my journey. It doesn't have to be everyone's journey. But I got through that with that promise in mind. Now, I had been of service prior to that. The industry, the space that I was in, the way I made my money in the world, but the way I just behaved and acted in the world, it was just out of integrity because I wasn't really living that life. 7, 8 years ago, I started living that life. Like I began that journey to live that life, and I can't look back. And so now I am of service, and there's a reason why I'm sharing this with you. I'm of service. I'll share that with you in a moment. But I'm of service because there are many 5-year-old, 7-year-old boys and girls that are trapped in adult bodies that are stuck in a time warp. They're stuck in shame and pain and fear and trauma. They cannot get out of it. Everything they do is acting from that age, from that timeline. As adults, hurting themselves and hurting others. Purposely, not purposely, unconsciously, consciously. And so I'm here to serve those that are stuck in that time warp. That don't see themselves, that are too scared to go there, that don't feel safe in their nervous systems. I didn't feel safe in my nervous system. I didn't feel safe in my body. I had body shame. Carry body shame. Carry mental shame of how I've behaved. How I think now, how I act now, what I do now. There's always room for growth. If we're alive, there's room for growth. There's room for that expansion. So I find that when I serve in this way, it helps me heal just a little deeper as well. We often teach what we need to learn the most, and we often learn through the depth of our teaching. And often for me, it's not even teaching, it's exploration. And I get to do that in the company of amazing human beings, whether it's in larger groups or in a one-on-one harness capacity. But I'm of service to that 5-year-old boy. Everything I do, the decisions I make, the way I think, the way I recover from drama or conflict or tension, it's for that part of me that didn't feel safe as a little boy. Didn't feel safe as a child moving through the world. And I know that when adults heal that part of themselves, that perceived to be fractured, fragmented part of their psyche, they heal too. And they bring that healing into every relationship. And healing starts in the internal home, the intra-relationship with self. And that healing then radiates outwards. Like when you turn on a heater and its central location, it's warm, and then as it heats up, begins to expand and move out. And you can be 10 feet away and feel that heat, that warmth. You don't have to be half a foot away. Well, the deeper healing we do, the more that healing, that healthy energetic radiates beyond just where we are. So that's why I do what I do. So whatever it is that you do in the world, however it is that you be in the world, I'm curious. What's your why behind that? Share and let me know. Power and blessings to you.